Good morning. I hope everyone's excited and strapped in. I have the great pleasure of inviting everyone in for science-related projects, experiments that will be hosted by our corporate partners, which include DuPont, Boeing, FMC, ILC Dover, and Elite Universal Network.
Welcome to the DuPont Experimental Station in Wilmington, Delaware. I'm Jennifer, and I'm a researcher here. At DuPont, we make materials that go into parts and applications that you probably use every day. If you look around, you're probably going to find a DuPont material in something. But how do we go from making materials in labs like mine here at the station to a part that is in your phone or in your car or something you're using every day? We're going to go to my colleagues in the processing area, Mike and Bob, who are going to start walking us through how we actually make parts. And our friend Ben is also going to tell us about 3D printing, how that all fits into this, and how we solve our customers' problems to give them the parts they need for the devices that you use.
Hi, I am Mike. I have been making plastics for 40 years on these extruders. It starts with a blend of raw ingredients formulated by a chemist. These ingredients can be used at a small percentage amount or a large percentage amount. We blend the smaller percentage amounts in our blend room in a ventilated hooded area using the proper PPE for safety. We take the blend into the extruder area where it will be put into a separate feeder to feed into the extruder. The larger percentage materials like glass fiber and minerals will be fed separately from their own feeder. Altering the ingredients will give different physical properties to the final product. The extruder is a continuous oven consisting of a barrel with a set of twin screws or a single screw that will melt and mix the ingredients and then push through a die. A twin screw is mostly used for compounding, the mixing of more than one ingredient. The hot melt is then pumped out of the die, forming a strand. The strand then is quenched in a water bath to cool the strand so it remains stiff outside but soft inside, enough to be cut into pellets. The strand is then removed from the quench bath and travels through a set of air knives that blows the excess water off the strand. The strand is then inserted into a pelletizer while the rotor knife rotates, cutting the strand into small pellets. The most critical part of the extruder is the screw inside and the specific design. Each product requires a different design. As you see many separate parts that are configured on the screw shaft in an order that will first melt the ingredients, then further down mix and disperse evenly all of the ingredients. So we then insert the screws inside the barrel, then install a die on the end. The designing engineer must understand the work of the screw design so not to underwork or overwork the molten polymer, which can also change physical properties. We now complete loading the feeders we plan to use that day. You see a pellet blend in one, you see mineral in another, and glass fiber in another. The feeders are lost in weight and operate off a computer chip. These feeders operate at a 98% or better accuracy. We might see a 1 and 1.5% deviation from set point. Quick note as we scan the extruder that you see a gauge. This is where we pull vacuum on a specific spot of the screw that removes water and other volatiles that can interfere with the polymer viscosity. You can see the molten strand coming out the die, quenching in the water bath, then the strand entering the pelletizer, exiting as the final pellet. These pellets now can be molded into parts or used in the 3D filament making process, which Bob is going to explain.
Filament extrusion for 3D printers. Pellets made from the compounding process are placed into a filament extruder. Temperatures and screw speeds are adjusted for optimum flow of the melted strand. A custom water bath was designed for a direct flow from the extruder die through the process. Heating elements in the bath, similar to hot water pipes fed through a thermolator, are needed for certain materials to cure at a slower or faster rate. This was a problem solved using soft materials that would stretch during the process. Laser mics are essential for reading the precise diameter of the filament. A strand puller is used to correct the diameter of the filament, larger or smaller, by adjusting the speed. Finally, once the filament is in 3D printer specifications, we can collect the final product on a winder spool. 3D printers have a very small tolerance or window for the filament to flow properly through the printer die.
We can take the filaments that were just made, and using a 3D printer with specialized software, we can make a prototype part to test if the designs are feasible before manufacturing parts by injection molding. These materials can also be used to 3D print test parts. These test parts are then tested, as you'll see in the following segment, for their physical properties. These parts will then allow us to estimate how well our 3D printed structures will do in real life compared to injection molding.
Injection molding. Injection molded test bars are made for comparing strength and impact. 3D test bars of the same material are tested and compared to the injection parts. Instron and IZOD testing. An instron is used to determine the strength, break, and elongation results. IZOD is used to determine the impact strength using various weights to strike and break the parts. Both are used to determine the difference between an injection molded part and a 3D printed part.
"3D printing has many advantages over normal manufacturing. One of these advantages is the ability to create complex structures with intricate details without the need to make multiple pieces and having to assemble them into one part. As you can see from the parts shown, you can make almost anything given enough time and the proper materials and the right type of printer. 3D printing can also be used for small-scale manufacturing of real-world items, not just prototyping. Back in March of last year, when the coronavirus started to affect us here in the United States, thousands of people used their 3D printers to make face shields for our frontline medical workers. Here at DuPont, we used our 3D printers to make about 5,000 face shield headbands to distribute to local hospitals. Even today, almost a year later, we are continuing to provide local healthcare workers with face shield headbands.
We hope you enjoyed that snapshot into the challenges we face every day here at the experimental station. It doesn't just end with making the part. We have to test it and make sure it's exactly what we need to solve the problem for our customers and for you. So thank you for watching and have a great day.